Howdy guys, what's going on? I'm sitting here right now in Cincinnati, just getting unloaded. It's my last unload before I go home. I'm going home till till next week for the turkey holiday. I was just thinking, it's well, when you're driving down the road, especially, I don't want to call myself a YouTube content creator because I don't know. I mean, I guess I am, but I'm just so small time that feels a little disingenuous to call myself that. But as somebody that participates in the YouTube lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, when you're driving down the road, you think about things that go on. You think about your journey. Turn the truck off here. You think about your journey from day one driving a truck. You know what I mean? You think about you just think. You think about how far you've come. Your first day on the job, your first day driving solo. Come to realize, how much fun you had when you started driving a truck. The excitement that you had when you on your first solo run. And what I mean by that is when you were done with the trainer, there wasn't anybody in the passenger seat, there wasn't anybody in the bunk. It was just you and your truck. And that feeling of freedom, it is comparable to when you're 16 and you're behind the wheel alone in your car for the first time. Once you get your driver's license, you relive that feeling when you get behind the truck or behind the wheel of your truck and there's nobody beside you telling you what to do. And it's terrifying but exciting at the same time because you're now alone driving this 75 foot long 80,000 pound vehicle that you are 100% responsible. Scratch that. You're 150% responsible for everything that goes on in here. You have to understand that everything that happens, there's so little things, so many of little things, whatever, that can happen, that it can be easily turned into your fault. You know what I mean? There's very little at-fault accidents out here on the road when you're a truck driver. Everything, unless somebody rear-ends you, then it's pretty much your fault. Even if it's not your fault legally, it can be seen so, via the FMCSA points. And, it's just, it can be very overwhelming for a new driver. But the excitement is there. Regardless of being overwhelmed or being scared, you're excited to be on the open road for the first time without somebody telling you, when to change lanes, how to back into the dock. It's all up to you. The problem is, over time, you become jaded. You become numb out here on the road. It becomes a job. You still have times where it's, where you have good days and, fun days. And I would say that those probably are the majority. I'd say I enjoy being out here more times than not. But you still have that jaded feeling. Like, I don't have the excitement necessarily anymore. I'm proud of what I do. I'm very proud to be a truck driver, although, that comes with many stereotypes. Truck drivers are this, truck drivers are that, they're uneducated, they're lazy, whatever. It comes with a lot of, like I said, negative stereotypes. But it's not true for most drivers. I don't have a formal college education, but that just because you don't have a college education doesn't mean you're not educated. But that's just the way it is out here. There's just, you're in that type of profession that is going to be criticized in that extent. But anyway, that's beside the point. like I said, it's very easy to become jaded out here. It's very easy to forget to do certain things. And, like I made a video a while back, about, mistakes that truck drivers can make. And, if you become, what was the title of that video? If you become a creature of habit, it was about becoming a creature of habit, then you can make mistakes that are deadly. You can make all kinds of, a small mistake out here can be a deadly mistake. And becoming jaded out here on the road can very easily lead to a deadly mistake. Yesterday, I was at a truck stop, and I just fueled up, and I was getting ready to leave. I was at the exit, had a truck in front of me, and I, was just patiently waiting behind him. It's a very busy road that you have to pull out onto, and it's hard to pull out onto that road sometimes. So I was just patiently waiting behind the guy, and there were several bucket trucks on my right side, and a truck behind me, and no way to immediately go anywhere is what I'm getting at. Out of the blue, the guy that was in front of me decides he wanted to back up. And at first he started to come back, and I just kind of thought maybe he was just kind of coasting back a little bit, maybe he'd let his foot off the brake to move forward, maybe he was driving, still driving a traditional 10-speed with a clutch, and so, he was taking his foot off the brake to move over to the gas, and it was starting to, roll back on him a little bit. But he kept coming, and he was picking up speed. I had no time to lay on my air horn. And I was on the air horn for a good, second and a half, maybe 2 seconds, but he didn't stop. He backed right into the front of my truck. After I'm a company driver, but after my boss has put thousands upon thousands of dollars into this truck, he backed right up into it, and luckily he didn't do a whole boatload of damage, at least to the untrained eye. He didn't do a whole boatload of damage. Caused one of my headlights to not work, a light, but it's going straight to the shop after this, and it's going to go to the Volvo dealer and get the repairs made that it needs. But anyway, he pulled forward after hitting the hood, got shoved in. You can see the hood. I was worried it was going to look worse than it was when he pulled away from it. I got out, and it wasn't, like I said, it didn't look horrible. But I told the guy, I'm like, look, man, we got to take care of this. We got to get out of the way. We're blocking the entrance. Let's go ahead and park. Get over here and park and take care of business. And the guy tried to weasel his way out. He had kind of a thick Russian accent, so it was hard to understand what he was saying at first, but then it started to catch on. And what he was saying, and what he ended up saying, he was like, well, do you really, is this something we really need to work? Is this something we really got to deal with? Yeah, it really is, and that right there just pissed me off. I wasn't mad that he hit me, because accidents happen. It falls back to the whole jaded thing. You become jaded, you forget to do things. He should have gotten out and looked. The whole thing on the mirrors to say GO.A.L, G.O.A.L, get out and look. He should have done that instead of blindly backing up. He said he couldn't see me in his mirrors. I don't know how, because my truck wasn't straight. So even if he couldn't have seen my truck, he should have seen my trailer. Dog-legged out a little bit. But he claimed he couldn't see me. But anyway, he tried to, get me to, forget about the whole thing. And I said, dude, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyways, we get backed up, and he's like, well, this actually just happened already at our company a few days ago, and my company can't afford another insurance spike. And I said, well, I'm sorry, man, but you screwed up. This is, you've got to own up to it. And I told him, I felt like I was talking to a kid, but I said, look, we all screw up. I've screwed up. I've done damage to trucks. I've done damage to other people's trucks. but I owned up to it, and I paid for it. I literally paid for it. At the company I was at, when I hit somebody else's truck in a parking lot, they required that you paid the deductible out of your own pocket, which was $500. So, I paid for the deductible when it happened. And I didn't try to make excuses for it. I didn't try to, tell a guy, well, I just need you to, I don't want to get in trouble. Because then, and I called the police even though it was on private property. My boss wanted me to call the police just so that there was some kind of documentation that, insurance had been exchanged and, that what happened had actually happened and so on and so forth. And he was trying to get me not to worry about it. He was like, oh, do you have to call the police? Do you have to do that? He's like, you have a load that you got to do. I have a load I have to do. This is about time. I'm like, yeah, well, you should have thought about that before you backed up blindly. And that's exactly what I was starting to get tired of him, and I told him, I said, it's exactly that. I said, you should have thought about this before you blindly backed into me. Now, I told him, I said, I don't want to be here any more than you do, but I'm not going to let you just drive away and risk not being able to get the damage on this truck fixed. I don't know if the hood needs replaced or not. It's cracked, but it's not a bad crack, and I'm not sure. I don't know what the properties or the rules are when it comes to fiberglass, and what can be repaired and what can't be repaired with filler. I don't know all that stuff. But if the hood needs replaced, because I have seen instances where it doesn't look like it's that bad, but the whole hood still needs replaced. And these hoods are $8,000. These are about $8,000 hoods, especially after you pay for the paint and everything. You're talking $8,000. And then on top of that, he shredded the driver's side fog light. The bumper is all smashed in, which you'll see in some pictures here. I had to pull the bumper out away from the tire, so the tire could steer freely. And so he did some pretty good damage to it. And I would be surprised if there was $10,000 damage to it. Well, anyways, he kept asking me, he's like, well, can your boss just maybe she can, work with my boss, and then he can just go ahead and instead of exchanging, and he actually said this. He goes, instead of exchanging insurance, how about your boss contacts my boss, and then he'll just pay her for the damage? And I said, okay, that's partly okay, but we're still going to exchange insurance just in case your boss reneges and decides he doesn't want to pay for it. We need to have a backup plan. We need to have your insurance information in case your boss tries to leave Dodge, in case he tries to get out of town. We got to make sure that we have documentation to support our claim. I kept having to repeat that it was his fault and he needed to own up to it. And I told him, I said, look, I was tired of him by now. I said, look, if my boss, and I sounded conceited saying it like this, but I didn't know how else to put it, I said, look, if my boss has pity or mercy on your company, then she can work a deal out with your boss, but we have to have the insurance in case that can't happen, because my boss is going to put this truck, but luckily it'll be, since it's Thanksgiving week, this truck will be unused for the next week. So we're going to take it straight to the Volvo dealer, and we're going to have immediate payment so that this truck can get fixed right away. Because even though this is, I've had my complaints about this truck doesn't look bad. It's old. It's a 2012. And it had a couple tiny cracks on the bumper already, but nothing bad. And the paint and everything is good on this truck. So after all these mechanical issues were fixed, this was a good truck. And then he just, backed up into it. And that's something else too, was that when he backed into me, and I was on the phone with my boss at this time, so she heard all this stuff too, that was going on here. I was walking around the front of my truck, and he was walking around it too, looking at it, taking pictures. And he was like, well, are you sure this damage right here is for me? I said, yeah, I'm sure. He goes, well, how do you know this is from me? I said, because it's my truck. Every time I walk up to it, as any truck driver should, every time you walk up to your truck, you instinctually, visually check your truck. You know what I mean? You walk up to it, you make sure that everything on your truck is the way it was, just out of habit. You just do it. You don't even think about it. You just walk up to it. You visually inspect your truck every time you walk up to it. So I told him I could tell him exactly where every fly is on this grill, where every bee is, where every wasp is. I can tell you where every insect impact is on this grill. I said, I know what damage is from you and what damage isn't. And then he walked around, there's a tiny little crack on the bumper somewhere, and he was like, well, how do you know this isn't from me? And I said, because I just know this one isn't from you. I said, look, I'm trying to be honest with you. And so I went through the entire front of the truck with him, and I said, look, this right here is not you. This is not you. This right here is not you. This big area right here, that's you. I said, the bumper wasn't pushed in before. I said, look, there's not even room for me to steer my tire right now. So obviously it wasn't like this before I pulled into the truck stop, or else I couldn't have driven the damn thing. Now my biggest concern though, and hopefully it won't happen, but I haven't had a dash cam hooked up for a while because mine broke and I just haven't replaced it yet. But I don't have any proof. See, technically this could be seen as a rear end collision. Because there's no proof, unless there's security cameras around there, there's no proof that he backed up into me. If he wanted to, especially because it was on private property, therefore the police didn't have to take an official report. So there's no report anywhere. So even though he admitted to the police that he did it, he could easily turn around, his boss and him could easily turn around and say, well, no, your driver just didn't stop in time and hit my driver. So I'm just hoping he doesn't do that, because there's no way to prove otherwise. And if that's the case, then it's his word against mine, and this truck won't get fixed. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, it's just a lesson right there as to why you don't want to become a creature of habit, as I've said before. Luckily, this wasn't a bodily injury type of an accident, but it was an accident all the same. It could have been avoided. Like I said, it's the company-wide, or it's the industry-wide motto: get out and look. And if you are unsure at all that there could possibly be something behind you, you need to get out and look, because there is a wide berth of area that you cannot see behind you. No matter how many mirrors you have, there's just a certain area behind that trailer that you just cannot see. So you just don't know. I still don't know how he didn't see that I was back there, because like I said, my trailer was not perfectly straight with my tractor. So even if he couldn't see my tractor, which we were driving the same truck, he had the exact same Volvo as I do. So the width was the exact same. The trailer's, my mirrors, he should have been able to see my mirror sticking out from the edge of his trailer. So, I don't know. I mean, like, if I was driving a four-wheeler, I could understand it, because if a four-wheeler's right up on your butt, you can't see them in your mirrors. But another big truck, I don't know. It just kind of seems a little fishy to me. But anyway, again, guys, just, it's very important to not get lazy, and like I said, it's easy to become jaded out here, but I still love my job, even though I do become jaded out here, and we all become jaded. It's impossible not to. You see all kinds of things that that can ruin your day, from fatality accidents, to things like that. Your truck can break down. You can have an argument with dispatcher, you can have an argument with a broker, you can have an argument with the shipper or the receiver, any number of things, and when they accumulate over years and years, it really can change a driver's attitude about the whole thing. But you just need to try to not let that happen, because when you started driving, most of us started driving a truck because it interested us. We were interested in the idea of driving a truck, and but we lose that idea over time. But so every now and again, I just, like, when I'm in a dock like this and I have nothing else to do, I like to look around my truck and just remember how it felt the first time I looked around a truck and I was alone. And I'll do that. I'll, clean the truck, like the dash and everything with my Armor All wipes and whatnot. And I'll just remember the days, as cheesy as it sounds, I remember the days when I wasn't jaded. And and then I'm reminded why I love driving a truck. But anyways, guys, with that said, I just wanted to get that out there, tell you what happened with my whole ordeal yesterday. I guess it would be 2 days ago, technically, by now. And, like I said, I'm sure I've posted some pictures up already for you to see. But anyway, that's what happened, and, I hope you all have, this will be, I'm sure, my last video for the week, just because y'all be with the family all week, so, but anyways, you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of turkey, but most importantly, cherish the time that you're spending with your families. It's something that we don't get to do very much as drivers, and it's the most important thing about the holidays is the family time. So cherish it. All right, hug your kids, kiss your wife, and just take advantage of it, because next week you're going to be right back on the road, away from your family again. But y'all have a good one. Again, be safe out there, whether you're driving your big truck or you're driving your four-wheeler to grandmother's house. And y'all have a good one, and take it easy.